Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Char Nolan. And I was just checking my stopwatch so that I would show up on time for our live event. Welcome to my kitchen, a mile outside of Philadelphia. Happy to be here. I was sharing with Patrick beforehand that we're going to be traveling, not together, but we might have lunch together in Naples in a couple of weeks, which would be very, very exciting. So, Patrick is our producer today. I'm always happy to be working with him. We have some wonderful, wonderful questions, very thoughtful, introspective questions, and I think ones that will be a benefit to everyone. I was thinking as I was turning the calendar last week that September 23rd is this Saturday. And this Saturday will mark 14 years that I have been whole food plant based. And my journey began by picking up a copy of the Engine 2 Diet after a meeting in Rockville, Maryland, where I work for Whole Foods Market. And our regional president was talking about this thing called the Engine 2 Diet and this guy named Rip Esselstyn. And I wrote down the name of the book and I wrote down his name. And on the way home, I stopped at a bookstore when there were lots of them around. And I got that book. And then I went to a grocery store and I followed every single ingredient that was on that list. And it was called the Engine 2 28-Day Challenge. And I thought, I can certainly do this for 28 days. And it was fun. It was easy because it was only going to be 28 days. And by day 10, I felt so much better that I sort of put that equation together that food is medicine. And it hit me like in the core of my heart that there was no reason for me to indulge in the standard American diet, that eating whole food, plant-based, no oil, salt, oil, and sugar-free was going to be really beneficial for me. I don't mind telling you that at the time I was almost 60 years old. And most 60-year-olds are starting to, if we were cars, I would probably need a tune-up by then, but I enjoy creating beautiful, delicious food based largely on what I learned from Anne and Jane Esselstyn and from Rip. And anyway, to make a very long story short, I was thinking, what am I going to do to celebrate my anniversary? Because if you are plant-based, you do have an anniversary. So this Saturday is the 12th annual Plant Stock, an amazing event put on by Rip Esselstyn and his team. So I'm going virtually to Plant Stock. So it's a fun event, even though it's not in person, and I've been in person several times, but this is a great way for me to honor my roots and celebrate eating plants. And I know that everyone loves all of the Engine 2 books, but I do have to say that the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease book by Rip's dad, Caldwell B. Esselstyn Jr., MD, is a great book. And it's chock full of really beautiful recipes from Anne Esselstyn. And I think the important thing to remember about this book is that it's sort of like the primer for embracing this lifestyle. And it was written when very few books like this existed on the bookshelves. So happy anniversary to me. And if you are plant-based, let us know when your plant anniversary is and tell me the best thing that you enjoy about being plant-based. With that said, great questions. And thank you, Eugenia, for that nice little shout out. I see Fran Costigan has a question, and I'll just begin by sharing that last night, Chef Demetra, and I are all members of the Philadelphia chapter of Les Dames d'Escoffier, which is a philanthropic charity of chefs, people who work in food service, cookbook authors, instructors, so forth and so on. And I've been a member for 7 years and really enjoy my colleagues. And last night, Fran had an event at her her apartment. So it was really fun again to be with Chef Demetra and Chef Fran, and we all had a good time and ate some beautiful and delicious food. So special thanks to Chef Fran, who has a question, because Fran and I are the president and vice president of the Prune Club. We love prunes. We weren't happy when they were called dried plums. We like the name prunes. We use them a lot in different recipes. Fran's question is, do I use prunes when I cook? And uh, I like to stew them with orange slices, with lemon slices, and cinnamon. And when they're stewed, they just have a lovely flavor to them. I do use them in baking, but one thing I do want to say, Chef Fran, regarding your question, is that when you cook with prunes, they can alter the appearance of the food that you're making. So rather that you might see brown flecks in a cake or whatever, but they do lend a lovely and delicious sweetness to them. I was in the Peace Corps for 2 years in Brazil, where the prune is revered. There are beautiful cakes made with prunes, prune ice cream, all kinds of things. So I just think that we as a culinary group need to show more love and respect for the prune and maybe join that fan club that Fran and I have started on our own. So Fran, thanks for that great question. And thank you so much again for hosting a wonderful event at your home. It was very, very kind of you. So we'll start off. We've got some great questions, and we'll start with Barbara F., who has a vegetable question, and why not? We are all about vegetables. She wanted to know which vegetables are the best nutritional ones to eat raw, and which ones are best when they are cooked. So I think that the scope of this question is really a big one, because I think it's important to look at some of the benefits of eating raw, that it's a bigger antioxidant boost. It can benefit certain lifestyle related conditions like cardiovascular disease. It really gives you a pump for your nutritional absorption and decreases your carbon footprint because you're not cooking anything. So I eat a lot of raw vegetables, using leaves as wraps, grating beets, so using them raw, so making them into a delicious, delicious salad. I think you can eat any vegetable raw with the exception of potatoes, sweet potatoes or white potatoes or golden or russets or whatever kind of potatoes that you like. So I think a lot of that depends upon your own palate and what you like and what's convenient to you or what grows near you. But I do enjoy eating them, and not just in salads, but there are like lots of other things that you can do. Like I mentioned previously, making collard wraps, or making a delicious kale salad. Today I was at the farm where I'm the resident chef, and we made Brazilian feijoada, which is a black bean stew, but it was loaded with a lot of vegetables that were cooked. And then at the end, I threw in some raw shredded kale. So there's kind of like that balance that goes on. So that is a great question. And I hope that I've answered some of your questions. The other thing, cleanup with raw is much, much easier. Just less, there's no pot or pan to do. And maybe you've got to work on your grater or something like that. But very good question. We have several questions about health coaching and salaries and how-tos. So I'm going to clump all of those together so that we can sort of stay in the mode for that. So this one is from Rocio. And this is another great question. What steps would you recommend taking to get her name known in the community along with social media platforms in order to reach a bigger audience? Well, first I'm going to say, do not buy followers, because you want to have people who follow you whose own values reflect yours, and who may be either a potential client or who might be somebody who would be somebody who you'd like to work with or whatever. So I've said this often. I finished my Rouxbe studies in 2015. And I sent out 10 letters to 10 people who I knew. 10 years ago, 8 years ago, they weren't called influencers, they were called people who I know. So I sent this brief letter out that just said, "Hi, Char, finished this program. Here's what I can do. Remember when I worked at Whole Foods Market and I took people on grocery store tours? Well, now I can take them into their kitchen." And people called me and were like, "Oh my, congratulations, this and that." Um, was I busy the next day? No. But am I busy now? Very. So you want to start to plant some practical seeds that reflect who you are, that are a total reflection on what your platform is. So if you're someone who enjoys taking people on grocery store tours, helping them clean out their cupboards to get rid of some of the unwanted foods, so to speak. If you enjoy teaching, if you want to do one-on-one cooking, one of the things that I really love to do is do a group cooking class in someone's home, and they take care of inviting who's going to come. And to make it very easy for the hostess, I always say, let me do the shopping, because I go grocery shopping and I know exactly what I need. I know exactly where I can get it for the best price. And I tag on a fee for that grocery shop and then charge a per capita. And sometimes I have to turn people away because you can get really, really busy doing that. So think about what it is that you want to do. If you want to make food for individuals who might have a special diet, maybe they can't leave their home or they've just had surgery. And one thing that I did most recently was I sent a letter to a friend who's a physician, and they happen to be a plant-based cardiologist, and said, "This is what I've been doing. I'm teaching here. It's at a brick and mortar here in Philadelphia, and send your patients to me, and we can work together." So I made that physician's life much easier because now they have a name and a business card. I still use business cards. There's still a need for them. Not everything is electronic. And this individual, I have 3 classes coming up at the Mainline Night School here in suburban Philadelphia, and 2 of the classes are filled. And it's because you network in the nicest and most sincere way. So, Rosia, the other thing is volunteer someplace. Donate your services to a 501c3 that's having their gala event. Donate a cooking class. Donate that shopping tour. And you don't have to say, you cannot overlook the importance of a good grocery shopping tour. Find out where that person shops. Go to the grocery store beforehand so that you have a sense of familiarity and you know that where things are, so that when you meet your client at the front door of the grocery store, you are good to go. Maybe think about giving them a little gift card when they are done, to say good luck to them. And the next part of all of this, and we'll talk about it with health coaching, is setting up a fee structure for yourself so that you receive the amount of fiscal reward that you deserve, that you're not underselling yourself, and that your salary or your fee or whatever reflects your education, your talent, and your passion about what it is that you want to do. So this is from Nadine. Hi, Nadine. How are you today? Nadine is struggling without cooking without oil, especially with sweet potatoes. Some tricks. Well, I don't know if you use an air fryer or not. And my one thing about air fryers is that if you have the kind that you pull that basket out, those potatoes are going to lay on top of one another and they're going to cook together, but they're going to steam more than anything else. So my air fryer looks like an oven, and I lay them out just like you do in that Brussels sprouts or carrot assignment, where they're not touching so that they can aerate well. If you're using your oven, make sure that your oven is hot enough. Make sure that the oven temperature itself is the same as the readout on your oven. So you might want to get an oven thermometer to make sure that it is the correct temperature. But a good hot oven, some nice parchment paper, and I always suggest to turn them midway so that they will caramelize and get crispy. The thing about sweet potatoes is that they tend to shrivel a little bit, so they really need to have a lot of direct heat. Without seeing your specific sweet potatoes, I know from the past in my own sort of expedition of making crispy food that not having them touch is the real trick. So I hope that that helps, and let us know how you make out with your next batch of crispy sweet potato fries. Oh, and you've got to eat them immediately. As soon as they pop out of the oven, they've got to be on a plate and on a fork. So hope that helps. Terry B wants to know how to join the prune fan club. Maybe that's something to truly think about, because prunes are magic. They're it. They're it. Terry B just wanted to say thank you to everybody here at Rouxbe for all that we do. And this is so sweet. What I've learned from all of you has truly been life-changing. And I think looking at the instructional team here at Rouxbe, which is led by Chef Eric Weinkoop, who's so delightful. I think that we really all enjoy what we do, and we enjoy the student body, and reviewing your assignments is a very important thing that we all take very seriously. And it sounds as though you see that in your work. So Terry B, that's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. I'll get back to you on the prunes. So, oh, this is from Peggy P. Hi, Peggy. My plant anniversary is 2001. Wow, that's 22 years. Lost 80 pounds, have kept it all off. Her biometrics are perfect. The doctor says she's a poster child. She loves all of the plant-based pioneers, Dean Ornish, Dr. Barnard, Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn, Dr. Colin T. Campbell, Gregor, and she knows she's missing some of that. I do want to just share a little story for a second. So here's my book. And you're probably saying, yeah, if you've been plant-based for 14 years, how come this book is in such pristine condition? So a while ago, a friend was diagnosed with coronary artery disease, and she was all gung-ho and wanted to borrow a few books. And I gave her my original Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease cookbook that had been autographed by Rip Esselstyn, Jane Esselstyn, Ann Esselstyn, and Dr. Esselstyn. And all of a sudden one day I thought, oh, I need to get my book back. And what turned out was that it got sold at a garage sale. So rather than become apoplectic, which I was for about 7 seconds, I bought a book, and I wrote a note and sent it to the Esselstyns. And a few weeks ago, got the updated version of my Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease book by Dr. Esselstyn with recipes by Anne. So the moral of the story is no one is going to get this book. I will not let anyone borrow it. So I think you did a really good job there, Peggy, listing the people who we so admire. And the list that Peggy gave is sort of like the foundation of, or the who's who of the early days of the plant-based movement. And now when you look at it, there are people who have admired and respected the work of those before them. And I'm going to give one shout out to Dr. Robert Osfeld from Montefiore Hospital. And if I have ever corrected your, or reviewed rather, your hospital assignment, I always make mention of him, because a dozen years ago, he started showing the film Forks Over Knives in the coronary care unit of his hospital, as well as implementing a plant-based diet. So I think there's a nice trickle down that goes on. And if this works for you, as they say, work it if it works. So, okay. So this is from Lisa A. Very good question, Lisa. How are you today? She's enrolled in, excuse me, the Forks Over Knives course. And she wanted to know about some quote vegan meat sources. So the ones that I like to recommend to people, and you'll never see me buy or eat an ersatz or fake meat kind of a thing, because if you read the labels, there's more sodium and oil in them than there might be in its animal counterpart. So I recommend tofu, and I recommend tempeh. And I have to say that the Rouxbe recipe for roasting tofu is, in my opinion, the best recipe ever. And I don't mind sharing with you that before I became a Rouxbe student, I never ate tofu because it always had like this strange consistency to it. But the Rouxbe recipe, follow the directions, marinate it well, roast it well, and you will end up having the most delicious dish. So tofu, same with the tempeh recipe. Quinoa, a lot of people seem to forget that quinoa is a seed and that it contains all 9 essential amino acids and is a very good source of protein. Certain nuts and some seeds. So those would be my recommendations. I would not use the baked tofus that are seasoned with all kinds of things, because they end up having a lot more fat and sodium in them. So that's just something to look at. There are some really great tofu recipes. The quinoa confetti recipe is a delicious recipe in the salad or grain in the grains unit. So you might want to look at that. So I hope that that is helpful to you. This next question is from Joy R. And she's finding that there are colorful fingerprints all over her kitchen after she finishes cooking. So when I first read this question, I had visions of like little gremlins with fingerprints marching all over your kitchen, putting, turmeric stains and beet juice stains over certain things. So I don't know, what your mode of cleaning up is. I do find sometimes that wearing gloves, cooking kitchen gloves, helps to keep down the mess a little bit, and there isn't as much fingerprinting. And the motto is clean as you go. So if you have a little dampened cotton cloth, just wipe as you go. And I don't think you're going to see those fingerprints around too much longer. But that was a very, very good question. So this is from Janet B. Hello, Janet B. How are you today? So I live about, I don't know, a half an hour from the mushroom capital of the world, Kennett Square. Last year, I did a story for Mushroom Month for Veg World magazine, and I went and spent the day at a mushroom farm. So I think Patrick has the link up for the Woodlands in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. Mushroom is a huge industry here, and I have someone who I work with who's a soup maker, and she buys her dried shiitake organic mushrooms from the Woodlands. And I will tell you that on the day that I went, the owner was happy to tell me that Martha Stewart had recently been there, and she was on the same walking individual tour that I was. So they're lovely people. This woman is the 5th generation in her family and the first female president of the organization. So if you have a chance to go and visit, but the website is wonderful. There's a very rich history, and I think you're going to find some good mushrooms there. I hope that that is helpful for you. All right. These are great questions. Gee. I love reading them all. And I hope I'm saying this name correctly, but Agap wanted me to share some advice on cooking tofu. So this is my preference. I like a dry tofu, so I will wrap it and then I will press it. I don't have a yogurt press, but I'll put a couple of heavy pots and pans and maybe an iron on top of it and put it in a strainer, then let any liquid drain out on the into a basin, or it'll just collect in the pan. And once it has that nice texture, and I like an extra firm tofu. We're not talking about silken, because you really can't press silken, because if you did, it would fall apart into smithereens. I like to marinate it, and then I like to roast it in an oven of about 400 degrees, about 9 minutes on each side, and it comes out perfectly. And I batch cook tofu so that I can use it as croutons. They make really good croutons, or I could make a banh mi, or I can throw it into any dish that I've made. So hopefully that helps. And there is a really good Rouxbe recipe for roasted tofu that I think you might find very helpful. But batch cook it; you'll save a ton of time in the kitchen. Okay, hi Deborah G. How are you today? Um, Deborah has a recipe that lists chili flakes as an ingredient. Is this the chili like you get those little packets in from your pizza order? Um, I'm going to put this up close to the camera. Whoops. These are crushed red pepper, and they are flakes. And it looks like the same exact thing that your pizza person will give you. You can see what they look like. There you go. Hopefully, I won't put my hands to my face now and get a tingling sensation. But yes, it is the same exact thing. And I don't know where you shop, but a lot of grocery stores these days have bulk spice sections. So take your old spice jar in, and they have little plastic bags that you can use. But if you want to avoid that step, and when you get to the checkout, the cashier will know what the Tare weight of the jar is, or whatever. But yes, same exact thing. Good eye. Very, very good. Okay. Chili flakes. Oh, and Deborah G is looking for a salad spinner, a nutmeg grinder, and a vegetable spiralizer. So uh, my students, when I teach in person, always make fun of me because I love a gadget. I just am attracted to gadgets. I can't go to Home Goods without coming home with some little gadget. But let me answer your question. Nutmeg. Now, this could be tricky, but it's simple. You go to CVS and you get one of those callus grinders that you use, and you mark it that it's for your kitchen, and this will grate your nutmeg just beautifully. It's a fraction of the cost to what you would pay for a nutmeg grinder, and it works beautifully. Just make sure that it's either a different color than one you might use in your boudoir, and keep it in your kitchen so that you know that this is the right one. This works great. As for the spiralizer, I have had many spiralizers. And right now, my new favorite has been this. And don't laugh at me, but it's from Tupperware. And it does a really good job with carrots and zucchini, which I love to spiralize. And the reason why I like it is that, especially as you get older, it's really important to keep your motor skills working well. And you put it in there and then you twist it. It looks like a doorknob. And it makes a beautiful, beautiful spiralizer. However, my other suggestion is, let's say you have either a carrot or a zucchini, and you have a vegetable peeler. There's that. And then I have this little thing here, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there it is. It has like 6 little mini knives on it. So you peel a piece of carrot and then you lay it down flat on your cutting board and go like this, and it will make a beautiful, beautiful spaghetti. So you don't necessarily always need to have the machine with the most whistles. This doesn't take up a lot of space. This doesn't take up a lot of space. So I think that when you're Um, you know, okay, can you see me? Perfect. Not at all. Sorry about that, folks. That's never happened before. So, finishing up about the spiralizer and things like that, you want to make sure that you also have space for it. And also, how often do you really use a spiralizer? If it's something that you use 7 days a week, then maybe you need to get, a hand rotary one. If you have a KitchenAid, I understand that there is an attachment for that, but I think that these two work really well without, as they say, breaking the bank. So I hope that that helps. All right. So this is from Maria. And Maria, I thought that this was a very good and insightful question. And the question is, can she advance through the lesson? And then when she goes grocery shopping, go back and do the cooking assignment? Absolutely, yes. My suggestion is, and I realize that we all work differently, but my suggestion would be to make a weekly list of your assignments and which ones you're going to do, and then make your grocery list on that. So you can go through the tutorials, but when you go grocery shopping, you'll know that that week you're going to make these 3 dishes, and then you have everything that you need. So I hope that that's helpful to you. This is from Peggy B again. Last time we were here, Peggy was looking for a cut glove. We gave her a couple of recommendations, and her one interesting comment is that it's not as cumbersome as she thought that it would be, and that it also made her more aware of her cutting skills in the kitchen. So I want to say that the cut glove isn't like the cut glove that Sir Lancelot has. Nowadays, they're like a mesh glove. They almost look like silver lame. They don't necessarily look like they have just come from Sherwood Forest. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's a really nice thing to hear from you. I love Karen's question, because Karen's question is one of the fundamental basics of what we do here at Rouxbe. And the question is, can you please clarify what to put in the photo for the mise en place for the assignment? So let's do an easy one. Let's do the roasted carrots, where it calls for carrots and lemon juice, and I forget the others, but just those ingredients. If you're going to make a side salad with that, I don't need to see the side salad ingredients. I want to know that your mise en place is organized, that everything is portioned as it should be, and then it is displayed in good light. Now, I also want to say that all of your ingredients need to be out of their original containers. You might have to put some pepper in something. You might say pepper to taste. Even if you just grind a couple of peppercorns and have that in a thing, or I see lots of times people are making a tomato marinara sauce and they leave the tomatoes in the can. The preference should be that everything is at the ready. And when I say in the can, I mean they're unopened. So everything has to be open, poured into, displayed, portioned, etc., etc. The side salad does not need to be shown. It is always fun, however, at the end of an assignment to see, the route that you took to get to your beautiful dish, and maybe adding a side salad or whatever. So thank you very, very much for that question. So, so Carlene has a question, and she enjoys the office hours that we have. And she wanted to know if I had a YouTube channel, and I don't. But Patrick has put down the Rouxbe YouTube, where you can find all of your instructors, so that if you miss an event, you can certainly check us out there. All right. And Aaron S. is also near Philly. Do I have any restaurant recommendations for special occasions that would cater to whole food plant based? So it's a sticky widget because you can go to many places in Philadelphia and eat vegan food. Um, you can go to the Soy Cafe at 603 North 2nd Street in Philadelphia. And the Soy Cafe is owned by Chef Alice Leong, who is a member of Les Dames d'Escoffier. And Alice has a very pure, clean, and delicious menu. And she cooks things without salt and oil. If you are looking for something of the vegan nature, good, but it might contain oil and salt. I have two recommendations. Would be Miss Rachel's Pantry. Rachel Klein is my friend who just won Beat Bobby Flay. If you saw her recently. And then my other favorite one is a restaurant called Primary Plant Based, which uses all locally sourced foods. When I go there, I can always drive the menu. I know what to order and how to order. So sometimes you might go to a vegan restaurant, but knowing how to order will sort of help you comply with whatever your dietary style is. Those would be my two. I'm a big fan of Honey Grow, just for a quick salad, but there's veg. I mean, Philadelphia has become quite the mecca of vegan and plant-based cuisine. So very good question. We should meet sometime for a cup of black coffee. If you saw our post yesterday about Blue Zones, black coffee is where it's at. Thanks for your question, Aaron, very much. Peggy B's just saying that Dr. Osfeld was in Rochester for one of her heartbeat talks. And he's just a fabulous and wonderful, wonderful person. I think the world of him. Okay, wait. Oh, Jesus, Patrick. Okay, hold on for 1 second, folks. Little technical difficulty here today. I'm not sure what's going on, but here. Oh, that's even funnier. I think my phone has frozen. Hold on a minute. Okay, done. Okay, hold on. And you don't see me just yet, correct? Okay, I think, do I have to restart my phone, do you think? Because it feels like it's frozen. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you know what I look like. You know what I look like, folks. Let's pretend that we're listening to a soap opera in the 1940s on a radio huddled together after dinner. Then I think that we can probably talk about the series of questions about the health coaching aspect and things like that. What salaries can be achieved as a plant-based nutrition, health coaching, cook, et cetera, et cetera. So I went to ZipRecruiter because I wanted to make certain that what I was going to talk about would sort of be in concert with what I know here in Philadelphia. So the salary ranges, if you're looking at a per capita salary, is between $46,000 and $49,000 a year. A lot of it depends upon your geography. If you live in Brooklyn or you live in Berkeley, you're going to make a lot more money because lifestyle curiosity seems to be a bigger topic in those areas. Per hour rate would be between $35 and $45 an hour. So those are some things to look at. But I do want to say that the most important thing before you even think of what your hourly rate would be is to think about what your package is going to look like. Are you going to have a headshot? Are you going to have a name? You don't need the funkiest name in the world. You need a name that makes sense to you so that it's easily identifiable to people. You could use your name. You could, Jane Doe, certified plant-based chef and health coach. And that certainly tells the reader or viewer exactly what it is that you do. I think a professional headshot in a chef coat also helps to create an image of who you are. Woo. Can you see me now? Patrick, I'm here. Okay, I'm back. All right, this is the best news ever. Thank you so much. Never let them see you sweat. Hopefully, you think that this bright red color on my face is because I'm totally cool, but I apologize. My sincere apologies. I always tell Patrick when we do a live event, I always feel as though I'm getting ready to land a helicopter. So thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. This is from Judy K, counting the daily average of protein-based meals. Why is it important, and how much protein is sufficient to maintain muscle mass in a senior female? I'm going to answer this question by, as a senior female, I kind of follow the rule of thumb that you should have about 0.8 uh, grams of protein for every kilogram. Roughly, you should have between 40 to 45 grams of protein a day, easily accessible with tofu, tempeh, quinoa. Last week at the farm, I made one of my favorite childhood dishes, which is peas and pasta, and a cup of cooked green peas has 8 grams of protein in it. So just make sure that you're reading your labels. You don't need any protein powders because all the protein that you need is in beautiful, delicious vegetables. So I hope that that's helpful to you. Oh, and Bonnie N has a veganversary, and hers is June of 2020. It's the best thing she did, and she also tips her hat to Dr. Rager and Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and they are her heroes, and I certainly understand that. So keep going, eat more plants. You know the drill. Wonderful news, Bonnie. I love hearing things like that. I also did want to just say one thing. If you are someone who follows a whole food plant-based diet without using oil, sugar, or salt, and you have an assignment in our program that might have oil, salt, or sugar in it, there are a couple of ways to get around it. One is when I was a Rouxbe student, I would begin every summary by saying this recipe was made without using salt, oil, or sugar. And I would put asterisks on either side and write it in capital letters so that the instructor would see that, because food sometimes has a different appearance when you don't use those foods. So that's the first thing. And I did every assignment that way except for one. And I went to a friend's house and said, I have to make this thing. I know you have all these ingredients. I know you have coconut oil. Can I make this thing at your house? And I made the chocolate ganache torte, which she and her family loved. Her house had beautiful lighting. That was the only thing. Everything else I made that way. And the other thing I wanted to say, I'm thinking about the lemon assignment, and that oftentimes it's a difficult assignment for some people because they may have a sensitivity to things that are sour or bitter. Find a volunteer, maybe a neighbor, maybe a friend, become an investigative reporter, ask them the questions that are in the assignment, and then when you write your summary, you just say, I am not fond of bitter citrus. I went to my neighbor, John Doe, and here are his findings. So that way you still have an understanding about flavor and how it works and how people respond to it. And remember that lemons are an excellent, excellent source to layer flavors in a dish. You'll see it used in the simple cabbage soup recipe, where at the end you add some mustard and some lemon juice, and that it totally elevates the dish and just makes it delicious. Instead of using salt, lemon works perfectly. So I just wanted to jump on that for a second because it was in the back of my mind. So can I give you a tour of my kitchen layout? I've had to move. My apartment kitchen is tiny, making cooking difficult. I'd love to see your layout I see in the background. Well, you know what? Maybe next time we'll go on a tour of my kitchen. It's a very basic kitchen. As you can see, I have a Vitamix that I use every day and a food processor that I use every other day, but we'll do that another time. Good question though, Cynthia. This is from Bonnie N. One more comment from the Food Revolution Network with Ocean and John Robbins. She's also recommending them that they have a plant-based coach certification program. I've met John Robbins many times, and maybe some of you know that he was heir to the fortune of Baskin and Robbins. And when his uncle died suddenly at the age of 56 years old, he decided that he would walk away from his family fortune because he didn't want to have anything to do with being responsible for promoting lifestyle illness rather than wellness. So yes, they do a wonderful job. Um, from Cynthia again, since you're plant-based, low fat, also I think, what's your recommendation for nuts? 1 ounce a day. Do you use much with raw sunflower seeds? So if you have ever listened to Dr. Esselstyn, he says no nuts. And one of the reasons why he says no nuts is because nuts are a difficult food not to eat. Jeff Novick says the same exact thing, that if you said to somebody, you could have an ounce of nuts, an ounce of notes is about maybe a 2-inch circle on your hand. So in terms of making dreamy, creamy desserts, I don't. And if I'm making, for example, the famous Dr. Esselstyn walnut sauce, I'll use white beans in place, so that you get the same sort of umami and you get the same texture as you would from using walnuts. I will say that if you're going to make a bean-based sauce that you want to be creamy, that you would serve, with a crudité or whatever, that it's really best to put the beans on a towel and pat them dry so that they have a little bit of a drier texture. Sometimes I'll throw them in the air fryer for like 1 minute just to sort of like air dry them so that they have a nice texture that resembles more of a nut and less of a bean. So you might find that helpful. But I'm not a big a nut person, but for obvious, for like a million reasons, because they're very calorically dense. And, even though they have a lot of nutritional values associated to them, I can get those nutrients from other fruits, vegetables, and legumes and things like that. Terry B wants to know how we can find out about the mushrooms. I think that we have posted it. It's the Woodlands at Kennett Square, and it's the Woodlands at Phillips.com. And I think that Patrick has that up. And I think maybe I did want to tell you that I believe it is in the beginning of January of this year, Rouxbe will be offering a health coaching program. And maybe you have attended in the past one of the live events with Dr. Deb Kennedy, who will be overseeing that program. So that might be something for you to think about. And just one last thing, because I saw there was a question about credentials. So the word health coach can be a huge, gigantic umbrella. And where do you fit in that? And you always want to come across as being professional, knowledgeable, responsible, with, I think somebody mentioned earlier, having a good reputation in what you do. It takes a long time to establish yourself, but you just keep on going. You have found a passion that you like. You realize that you can provide a service to people that has reward to it. You have schooled yourself well. You've read a lot of books. You've been to a lot of seminars. Maybe you did eCornell, and you have a certification from Rouxbe. We are accredited by many fine culinary organizations. So we do have a foundation of recognition. And remember that Rouxbe's been around for maybe 15 years, and we were the first online school that there ever was. So find your passion, and then don't be afraid to do what you like to do. And I hear this from a lot of my friends who have decided to have a life change and become a health coach or a plant-based chef. And they'll say to me, but I feel like an imposter. No, you cannot allow yourself to feel like an imposter, because what you have to say and what you have to do. Start out with that one client. Ask her if she wants, ask them if they want a party in their house. And from there, you can begin to build your business and feel like you're, the king of the world or queen of the world, royalty of the world, whichever it is. So with that note, there being no other questions, and my apologies for the computer glitch. And again, a big thank you to Patrick for all of his help today. And I'm Char Nolan signing off from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And I'll catch you soon. Take care now.